Hey, this is Moa Smokes, and this is part 2 of my Shisha myths or misconceptions. Part 1 ran a little bit long, so I wanted to make sure that the videos were easily digestible. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure you go back and watch that now. There's different information. Look at the summary to see what topics I cover in which part, because some might be more relevant to your interests. Feel free to leave comments on this video or the other video if you want to see other myths or misconceptions logicked out or busted. I guess that's the term for myths. Yeah. All right, without further ado, we'll get into the topics. The next myth or misconception, I know a lot of you guys see this when you're at lounges, when whoever is replacing your coal comes by. Sometimes they'll grab the head and they'll hold it up like this and they'll blow into the bottom of the head. I don't know why they do that. I've tried to reason it out a few times. I never understood it. Like, unless ash from your coals are going directly into your bowl and they're trying to blow out the ash, it makes way more sense to try to get rid of the excess smoke just by purging. That's kind of one of the reasons that we purge when we smoke. Usually to clear out the base, make sure that stale smoke gets out, and it allows fresh air to get into your shisha, which is why it tastes better after you purge, because you're getting that fresh air to circulate through your bowl. You're smoking it, you're getting more of the flavor, not because you blew out bad flavor, it's because you blew out stale smoke. When you do that, sometimes you'll notice if you purge hard enough, excess smoke will come out of the bowl. Sometimes. Again, I don't know why they do that. If someone knows, feel free to tell me. I think it's just something that people have always done, and it looks cool. It looks like they're being super attentive, and I don't think they are doing it maliciously. I think they're just doing it because that's what people have always done at lounges. You think that's why they do it? Oh God, really? All right, so I was actually like, I kind of trailed off at the end of the statement because I really don't know why they do that. I called one of my friends and I was like, hey, what is your guess to why people do this? They actually pointed out something that I hadn't really thought of. A lot of times when you're at lounges and the foil is not super tight, it starts to kind of cave in to the shisha, like the actual flavor, it starts touching it. Again, this is crazy to me if this is why. But when they do that, it actually pops the foil off of the shisha flavor to give it more space so it burns less quickly. If that's the real reason, I'm upset. And also, like, why don't you just tighten up your foil? Like, just tighten up. The next topic was one that I got in the questions that I posted on Instagram. Again, it was one, it just said Quicklights. And that's really all I had to say, just Quicklights. Quicklights by itself is a myth or a misconception. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're the round tabs that people use as coals, and you can light them with a lighter. And that's why they're called Quicklights. So literally you hold it up, you hold the lighter, you light it, and within a few seconds, your coal is starting to light. Within 30 seconds, your coal is fully lit, and you can just drop it on your bowl and you're ready to smoke. So the reason that I kind of expected someone to bring up Quicklights, I was gonna talk about it anyways. I think that if you can avoid using Quicklights, you should. Quicklights are really made for incense, to burn incense. They're actually made out of very similar chemicals to what gunpowder is made out of, which is why they're so flammable. Also, they have a taste. So like, there's a flavor to Quicklights. So when you put it on your bowl, when you're smoking, you'll notice that when you compare a session with Quicklights to a session with coconut coals or even wooden coals or silver tabs, the smoke that you're getting is a lot less dense and it's a lot less white. Like, the smoke is grayish when you're using Quicklights. And also you'll notice that the flavor from the Quicklights quickly gets into your session. So if you're smoking mint with Quicklights, you're smoking mint with Quicklights. Like, you'll actually taste the Quicklights in the mint. People use them for various reasons. Like, some people just don't have the patience for coconut coals. Some people feel like coconut coals burn their bowls faster than Quicklights do because, you know, maybe they're putting it directly on the foil. Maybe they're not using like a Lotus or a Provost. Maybe they're not poking their holes properly. Maybe they're not, you know, circulating the coals the way that they should be, or maneuvering the coals the way that they should be. For whatever reason, people, you know, some people like Quicklights. You know, they're definitely handy on like road trips, or, you know, if you're traveling somewhere. I feel like they should be the exception and not the rule. You're seeing more and more lounges, they're offering both, and if you look around, you'll notice that the majority of the people are using coconut coals. And again, just because you're getting a cleaner session, coconut coals don't really have a flavor. They typically last longer once you get them lit. They take maybe like 10 to 15 minutes to light fully if you're using a good burner and you're flipping them halfway through. Personally, I'd rather wait 15 minutes and smoke the flavor that I wanted to smoke rather than wait 30 seconds, throw a Quicklight on there and and taste the Quicklights. And again, it goes back to, you know, it's made from the same chemicals as gunpowder and it has this flavor, and I just, you know, it's not for me. I've definitely used them in the past, so I can't fault anybody for using them, but you know, we all learn one day. The first time you try coconut coals, if you haven't and you've been using Quicklights, it's gonna make a world of difference for you. Immediately, you're gonna be like, oh, that's what this flavor is supposed to taste like, which is always it's always great to see that. The next myth or misconception is one of my favorite ones to hear, and that's, does putting milk in my base make my clouds thicker? And the first response I usually have is, why are you putting milk in your base? Like, milk is a liquid that is supposed to be stored in a refrigerator, because if you leave milk out, it'll spoil, it'll rot, and you're putting this into your base to smoke out of. So like, sure, maybe it's great for like the first, you know, 15-20 minutes, but you just smoked a shisha with milk in the base. So all of those little milk particles that went everywhere in your shisha that you're probably not gonna be able to clean out, or they're just sitting there rotting. Sure, maybe your clouds will look dense, but also if you pack your bowl properly and manage your heat properly, your clouds are gonna look just as dense. Yeah, like, you know, don't smoke spoiled milk, and don't get sick, and you know, because you smoke shisha with milk in the base. Yeah, please don't do that. Like, all jokes aside, please don't do that. And if you see a place serving milk in the base that, you know, is a lounge, they are using the same shisha over and over and like passing it off to different people or whatever, like, maybe don't smoke there, because you don't know if they did that with the shisha that you're using. Just because you have water in your base doesn't mean there wasn't milk in it before. And again, like, unless you're thoroughly deep cleaning your shisha, you're gonna miss out on some of the milk particles that are there. Just don't do it. Like, the moral of the story is, don't put milk in your base. It's not a good idea. And if you want thick clouds, like, you know, just feel free to ask questions until you figure out exactly how your bowl is best packed, how to manage your heat properly, like all of the fundamentals of smoking shisha and having an enjoyable session. So yeah, if you don't know how to manage your session properly, like, I have a bunch of YouTube videos on my channel. You can also hit me up if I don't have a video covering a particular topic. Hit me up on Instagram at Moa Smokes, and I'm happy to answer. We're gonna segue into the next one after milk in the base, is liquor in the base, because liquor in the base is something that was super popular for some reason when I was in college. And I feel like a lot of these like bars or lounges were like, oh, you know, we could put vodka in your base, or, you know, we could put tequila in your base, and we could put this, we could put that. And the shisha, like, regular price is $20. You have liquor in your base, it's $100, $150, whatever it is, right? It never really appealed to me. It just didn't make sense. Like, okay, so you're telling me that I'm smoking something that, you know, basically is water vapor. So the vapor is coming from the water that's in the base. I'm heating up the coals on top of the bowl. When I pull, it's kind of going through that water and I'm getting that vapor, and that's how I'm getting the smoke. You're telling me that that same liquid, I should replace it with something that is liquor, so that I can, instead of getting that water vapor, I get liquor vapor, and then I get liquor fumes, and then what? So like, then I'm sitting there smoking for 3 hours on liquor fumes, and I get alcohol poisoning, and they can't even pump my stomach because you can't pump fumes. It's not a great idea. Like, again, I get it. Like, it's cool. Like, oh, I got the liquor shisha, I'm paying $150. It's a stunt. It's a flex. It's not a good idea. Like, just use water. I don't understand why it's so difficult for people. Like, everybody wants to use something cool and creative. There's like water coloring if you want something that looks different in your water. And also, like, it's probably gross. I don't really know anybody that drinks liquor for like, oh, I love the flavor. What? Why? Go to your bed. Why are you frozen? Go to your bed. Then the next item is ice in the base, which is super common. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna put ice in my base. It's gonna be cooler smoke when I pull. And yeah, like, that works. You get cooler smoke. The issue though is it's kind of counterintuitive, because you're putting ice into the base. Like, all of this stuff, you just have to think about, like, what am I doing and what am I trying to accomplish and how does this whole thing work? So if you're putting ice in the base, putting ice in the water, the stem of your shisha is dipped in that water. That stem is connected all the way up through the heart, through the top stem, into a bowl port. So now your bowl's at the top of that. So your bowl, which has coals on it and it's supposed to be heated up, that's how you're getting the smoke. That is connected to a metal pipe that's submerged in ice water. So like, don't you think that your bowl is gonna have to work harder to give you the clouds that you want? The only time that ice water is a good idea is like if it's really, really hot in your house. Like, I'm talking like over 80, 90 degrees, and like the air conditioning repairman isn't here yet, and like you really just want to smoke. Like I get it, it's hot. So, I mean, that ice water is gonna be room temperature real quick anyway. Or like if you're in the desert or like somewhere tropical and it's super hot, like yeah, put ice in your base. Again, just to make sure that the water is cold, but the ice is gonna melt really quickly. It was definitely like one of those cool things to do when I was growing up. I was like, yeah, let's put ice in the base. And I definitely did it. And it's cool, like you really do get cold smoke. There's other ways to get cold smoke that aren't counterintuitive or counterproductive to your session. You know, you can always mix mint into whatever you're smoking. You can mix one of the, you know, menthol flavors that are super popular, like Morose from Element, or like Supernova from Dark Side, or Frosty from Must Have. Like there's companies that are making flavors that are just cold now. Again, you get that cooling sensation when you smoke. But yeah, you know, again, ice connected to a metal rod that goes straight up into a bowl that's supposed to be heating up your shisha that has coal sitting on top of it. It's just, you know, it's cool for a while. The next item is actually ice hoses. Ice hoses I have absolutely nothing against. Ice hoses are cool, literally they're cool. I don't use them personally just because I feel like it's a hassle for me to keep freezing a hose just to smoke. Again, there's other ways to make sure that your smoke is cold. Again, mixing mint or mixing one of those menthol flavors I just mentioned. But yeah, if you like ice hoses, more power to you. To me, they're just like, they're clunkier than I'd like. And also I don't really want like an ice hose sitting on, you know, my leg or the table and like melting, and then there's all that condensation. But yeah, if you like them, go for it. And then the last question that I have is, does a bigger pipe equal bigger clouds, and does a smaller pipe equal smaller clouds? Basically, does a big hookah or a big shisha mean that you're gonna get big smoke, and does a small hookah or shisha mean that you're gonna get small smoke? And it's actually the reverse is true. And the reason for that is because a smaller shisha or hookah has a shorter stem. Think about it like from where your bowl is to where, you know, wherever your water is. The shorter that distance, the less of an effort you have to make when you pull. It's easier to get bigger clouds with using less effort or exerting less effort. And then for a big shisha or a big hookah, you just have to put a little bit more effort into it. Now, some of them have super smooth draws, even though they're tall. It's just as easy, but it's by no means the rule that, you know, a big shisha equals big smoke or a small shisha equals small smoke. Like some of the biggest clouds I've ever gotten were from like the Hoop subatom, which is, if you're not familiar, I have a review on it, but if you're not familiar, it's like a box shisha that's like this tall, like literally from the table to right here where my hand is. It's so little effort when you pull. The clouds are always crazy. Same with like the Viral One, which looks like a can of soup. Like it's the shape of a can of soup, it's the size of a can of soup. Super easy to get big clouds with that. And then you have shishas that are taller, like the Ian Lounge 4, for instance, which is one of my personal favorites. I have a review on that if you want to check it out. Super smooth draw, super easy, pretty open in terms of the draw and the restriction. So very easy to get big clouds, big smoke from that as well. It really just depends. Just make sure you do your research, make sure you ask questions, make sure you watch, like I said, I have a bunch of reviews, a bunch of videos. Feel free to watch those. Feel free to hit me up if you have questions. All right, so that does it for part 2, but I am curious, what are some misconceptions or myths that you've heard? Just because we've done 2 parts so far, it just happened to work out that way. Doesn't mean I necessarily want to stop. So if there's interesting myths or misconceptions that you've heard that you want, you know, debunked, feel free to drop those in the comments, and maybe we'll do more parts to this. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Moa Smokes, and I'll see you guys later.